Hey, what's up? Ian here, and today I have a very budget IEM to introduce to you guys, and I'm sure a lot of you will like this IEM, and it is the CVJ KE-S. The retail price for this is just $10 US, and if you guys are interested to find out more, do check out the unaffiliated link in the description below. So in this video, I'm going to go through the accessories, design, build quality, fit and comfort, my sound impression, and I'll conclude if this is worth your $10 US or not. In fact, let me just tell you now, it's well worth that $10 US. Alright, so let's jump straight into the review. Let's first talk about the specifications. So this is a single dynamic driver. The sensitivity is 122, impedance is 22 ohms, and the frequency range is 20 to 20,000 hertz. As for accessories, inside you'll find the user guide, ear tips, and the cable. Ear tips are standard ear tips, nothing to shout out about, but it does the job. And then the cable as well, I mean, looks like KZ cable, but it's actually CVJ's cable, right? So very generic, very budget looking cable. Is L angled headphone jack, and you got your Y splitter somewhere here, if I can find it, yeah, somewhere here. And then the ear hooks. Ear hooks are a little bit on the stiffer side, not my type of ear hooks, but yeah, not very comfortable for me. Right, so that's for the cable. Now let's talk about the IEM itself. IEM looks quite futuristic. The faceplate has got pretty nice design, but the overall build quality of this is made of plastic. $10, don't expect too much, but yeah, it's pretty good. Okay, and then on the inner shell, pretty typical IEM shape with the perforated metal nozzle. Okay, so in terms of design wise, it's okay, looks nice, and it's got my favorite color, blue. Now in terms of fit and comfort, surprisingly it fits my ear very well. Doesn't give me any pain or discomfort or anything like that. The only discomfort I get is this ear hooks, so I prefer to use my own cable. In terms of the seal, I think yeah, the seal is okay. It's just that I prefer to use my own ear tips to, it gives me a better seal. Okay, so that's for the fit and comfort for this. Now let's talk about sound. Now first, let's talk about drivability, and these are very easy to drive. I use it with my iPhone, my Android phone, and I listen to this at about 30% volume. And when I was using my DAPs, because DAPs, they're pretty powerful. It gives this more power, so this is actually quite scalable, right? And it gives a bit more body to the track that I was listening to. So yeah, very easy to drive. Now let's talk about gear matching. So I would say this is more of a fun sounding and casual sounding IEM, so I would recommend gears that are warm sounding. Let's see, shows. Yeah, the True Fear show is actually pretty good match for it, and the TP20 is also a pretty good match for it. Dongles that I don't recommend is the Crestal M15. This is a little bit too sterile, too dry for it. As for DAPs, I would recommend maybe the Hi-Bs. Right? Hi-Bs are pretty good match for it, and the Sonys. Okay, gears that I don't recommend is the Shanling M0 Pro. This is a little bit too dry and too sterile for this. I think, yeah, the M15 is okay. M15 is also a little bit too dry for it. Don't really match it, but I don't mind using it because it gives it more power. Okay, so yeah, so that's the gear recommendation to match with this earphone. Now let's talk about the tone and timbre for this. It's fun, it's warm, it's casual, very colored sounding, not very natural sounding, but yeah, it's very colored sounding tone and timbre for this. So yeah, very casual. Now let's talk about the technicalities for this. In terms of $10, it's actually pretty good in terms of performance. Yeah, I have no complaints about the technicalities. I mean, it sounds good for $10. Resolution on this is, wouldn't say fantastic, but it does the job. It's pretty good. In terms of soundstage, it's not the widest. At the same time, it's not the narrowest, and it's not the most intimate and most harsh. type of soundstage. It's quite natural in terms of soundstage as well. Good sound separation, good imaging, especially for gaming. If you are gaming with this actually gives you a very good idea where your enemies are, where the explosion came from and all that. So in terms of imaging and yeah, sound separation is pretty good. For listening to music, sound separation is not the most fantastic. On busier tracks it may sound a little bit congested, but most of the time when I'm listening to my music casually, this does the job and separates pretty well, and I can identify where my instruments are. So in general it's pretty okay, but one thing is that the detail retrieval on this is a little bit veiled, and it's not the most detailed IEM that I've heard. Okay, so that's for the technicalities. Now let's talk about this sound signature. So before that, let me clear my table and bring up my graph. Alright, so this is the sound signature of the KE-S, and this is a V-shaped tune IEM, and this is a very common tuning, but overall I would say this is fun. It's very casual sounding, a lot of bass, a lot of treble as well, and for those of you who are bass heads, this is not going to be your bass head IEM, and for those of you who are treble heads, this may be just there, right? It's quite a bright IEM. Okay, so let's talk about the sub bass first. Sub bass is actually quite rumbly and quite good as well. It's got a warm and engaging type of rumble. It's warm and heavy in the note weight. So yeah, so when I listen to it, I get good emotional response from it, and the rumble is very strong, very firm as well. Okay, and that's for the sub bass. Now let's talk about mid bass. Mid bass is punchy, very good punch, very good impact, and it's warm and it's heavy type of punch, and it matches well with the rumble as well. So very good bass shelf, I would say, but not the most bassiest, like very firm and very present bass shelf. Now as for the mids are recessed, as I mentioned, so in terms of the details of the instruments, they are not very detailed, but they're still clear and not very forward. But yeah, in terms of the overall presentation of the instruments, they are okay. I wouldn't say they are very recessed, but in terms of like pianos they have got good presentation lah. But trumpets and violins, they sound a bit laid back. Okay, in terms of vocals on this tuning is actually pretty good on both male and female vocals. Male vocals, they got good authority, good warmth and good engagement, and female vocals, they sound bright, engaging and very energetic as well. So vocals, they sound pretty good on this. It's just that they sound veiled by the bass. Okay, so if you like this type of tuning, I mean, that's brightness there, but it's just that it's a bit laid back, then this is actually a pretty good tuning for vocals. But other than that, you know, vocals are recessed lah. Okay, now in terms of treble is very energetic. It's very good bite to it. A little bit harsh. Okay, it's a little bit harsh for some, a little bit too intense. Okay, so for those of you who are really sensitive to treble, this may not be the IEM for you, but for those of you who likes that intensity, this is actually pretty good. All right, you can see the gain is actually pretty strong. Okay, in terms of presence, it's bright, is in your face. I wouldn't say in your face, but it's almost in your face, and yeah, very energetic and sparkly, I would say, type of treble. Okay, and the roll off of this is actually pretty good. It's not sibilant, almost sibilant, but this is actually a coupleless artifact. But when I listen to this, it's a pretty airy type of treble, and it rolls off pretty good, and gives you a lot of spaciousness in terms of the hi-hats and the cymbal strikes and the claps and all that. They sounds very light in the treble. Okay, so yeah, overall I would say the tuning is pretty good, except, you know, what I find is the treble is a little bit on the more intense side. Okay, so yeah, for those of you who are sensitive to treble, this may not be the treble that you will want, but you can EQ it anytime if you want. Right, so that's for the sound signature of the KE-S. Now let me just conclude. Now this is actually suitable to listen to a lot of techno songs, trance as well, because for trance and techno you need a lot of bass, at the same time you need a lot of treble as well, so pretty suitable for that, for J-pop as well, for K-pop, and heavy metal, especially the electric guitars. They sound pretty good for that. So in general, more fun and casual listening, and also I think for those who are new or thinking of trying this hobby out, yeah, this is actually targeted for that. It's a pretty good IEM to start off with. It's $10 in terms of price to performance ratio. This is very, very good in terms of the performance as compared to its price, and yeah, for those of you who want to try it out, I do really recommend to try this. It's just $10. Even if you don't like it, you can just leave it in your bag and use it as a spare, right? You can use it as a spare and then move on to the next one if you like. So but for those of you you know, who are already in this hobby, I would say, yeah, use it as a spare IEM, put it in your bag, and it will sound good if you take it out again, or if you're traveling or you're commuting to somewhere. It's actually a pretty good spare IEM to be put somewhere in your bag. Right, so that's my overall impression and review for this CVJ KE-S. Do I recommend it? Yes, definitely. For $10, it's a no-brainer for me. Okay, so yeah, and that's it for now. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video, and if you did, please give this video a thumbs up, and also please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. So that's it for now. I hope you guys have a great day ahead, and I'll see you again in my next video. Cheers.